brand A signed a 20-unit deal in Japan, or brand B awarded 100 licenses. Somebody else is opening 50 locations this year. But is it really a healthy growth?
Welcome to Top Rated Gym Podcast. I'm your host, Andre Cvijovic. And today, oh my God, we are joined by Ankin Laysha. She's a Chief Operating Officer at WellBiz Brands. Guys, with 900 locations, both domestically and internationally, Ankin is driving growth and operational efficiency across 5 leading wellness brands. Remember that. She brings a unique blend of personal experience, from being former competitive tennis player to fitness instructor and a certified personal trainer, to her innovative operational work in franchising. So before WellBiz, she was the head of innovation and customer insights at 24 Hour Fitness, where she built new premium offerings, set up wellness and nutrition partnerships, and launched new revenue streams in retail and digital channels. Ankin, so blessed to have you on the show.
Hi, Andre. What a great introduction. Wow, you outdid yourself. Thank you so much. I feel very excited to be here.
Hey, blessing is all ours. I'm saying it here on behalf of the community. So I want to start with straight to the meat, right? Tell us about your growth. I want to start with that. You got some impressive track record, in the fitness, wellness world when it comes to growing a franchise long term, right? What is the most important thing to keep in mind, especially when scaling to multiple locations?
Yeah, good question. So, in franchising or in any multi-unit retail environment, typically many folks think that growth equals the number of locations, right? That's why we see all those exciting announcements. Let's say brand A signed a 20-unit deal in Japan, or brand B awarded 100 licenses. Somebody else is opening 50 locations this year. But is it really a healthy growth? Because for everybody in the industry, we know that not of all those sold licenses end up being open locations. And at the same time, are those franchisees or operators happy and profitable? So I think for me, it's crucially important to think about healthy growth. And as a former franchisee and operator, and as a current COO of a franchise network, I would say that I will take one successful, large, let's say for the number's sake, $1 million location with one happy, profitable franchisee over 2 locations, each one making $500,000 and the franchisee is not being profitable, knowing that those folks invested their life savings or took big loans. So with that, I think it's really important to grow with the right people. And that would be kind of my short answer to your question. And when we talk about growing with the right people, the right target ideal franchisee profile really depends on your business model and on the brand. I'm blessed to be a part of a community of 5 different brands. And given that we mostly talk about top-rated gyms today, I will start with our beloved Fitness Together, which is one of the oldest, most mature brands in the WellBiz portfolio. And there we learned that our ideal franchisee is a very engaged owner-operator. Most of the time, it is a former personal trainer or the current manager of the location who lives there almost on a daily basis and is very passionate about helping people achieve their fitness goals. And what is the result? The result is the unheard of in the industry retention and client satisfaction. I remember, when I just started with WellBiz, I showed up to one of our locations because I was always trying to understand what's happening on the ground. I tried to work the front desk at all of our brands to understand how the magic happens. And I saw a gentleman there who acted like he almost knew everybody. I was like, does he work here? What's happening? And he told me, no, I've been a client for 15 years. If you ever heard of personal training, how hard it is to re-sign up somebody, you're like, wow, it's impossible. How much money has this guy spent? And what keeps him coming back? So that's kind of the level of engagement that the brand creates through the wonderful owners, operators that we have. And at the same time,
ask questions here for the audience. How
right?
many of you have a client that are 15 years with you?
Exactly.
That's a question I want to see in the comments, guys.
It's phenomenal. And honestly, when I looked at brand metrics and the package re-sign rate of 97%, I was like, this is impossible, because the 3% of people they lose is people just move to a different state or outside of the country, right? It's more than like natural turnover in the industry, and it's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
Right. And then going to our other brands, right? Elements Massage, which is recovery massage therapy, or beauty brands like Dry Bar, Amazing Lash, or Radiant Waxing, the target franchisee there is very different. It's almost never a licensed massage therapist or a beauty professional, cosmetologist, esthetician, but it's always a person very passionate about the brand, right? We always joke when you walk into the room of WellBiz franchisees, by the way they act, the way they talk, you can easily identify what brand they belong to. And it's a beautiful thing. So I would say the right thing about growth is growing at the right pace with the right franchisees. And of course, other factors like choosing the right territory, refining your business model is also important.
Wow, what I got from here is very simple math. That's going to be paradox, guys. 2 times 5 is not equal 10. 2 businesses with 500,000 is not equal 1 business, 1 million. You would rather have 1 million business, 1 location than 2 locations. It's not same profitability. It's better to go deeper with a single, healthier, more powerful location than spread yourself thin and trying to get as many locations who are suffering. You're increasing problems and challenges and complexity in running a business.
Yeah, and that math works for like 100, 200, 500 locations, because in the end, out of the 2 that are not profitable, chances are one of them will close. But the one that's really profitable, chances are they will be ready to open another location, maybe not immediately and slightly later down the road, which sets you up for success long term.
I love that. I love that. And the passion is just recognizable. It's contagious. You walk into the business and you can see this culture vibrating from the people who are passionate. And when you're served, you feel you're served by the owner, operator. It's somehow different. Different smile on their face, different care, different response time on the question. Everything is different. Whoa,
100%.
I love it. So last time we spoke, you talked about building a right network. One thing you mentioned is the importance of building the right network of people with the right incentives. Now, how do you find about bringing the right people into the business? Like, where are they hiding? How to source them? And how to ensure everybody is motivated by more than just a paycheck? I mean, today we are talking about a big problem in the industry is people. Big emotion about quiet quitting and other things. Like, how did you guys approach this?
Oh, yeah, it's a tough question. And I think even if you have the perfect answer, it's almost impossible to create it in real life, because there are so many different factors when it goes to people. And of course, when we hire somebody, right, anybody looks at the paycheck, the title, career opportunities, travel requirements, which, is especially crucial in this vibrant franchising world where our business coaches or ops employees travel across the country. But in the end, those parameters are more or less the same across different jobs in different industries, right? Especially as it goes to franchising. What really matters is some, let's say, less tangible factors. And I'm fortunate to be in this multi-brand environment where whenever we bring somebody new into the system to work with us, whether it is operations, marketing, you name it, they can choose if they want to be specializing based on our structure in a specific brand and be real brand experts. And if that's kind of part of their personality, I go deep, I go in the detail, I know everything about it. Or if they want to broaden their skills and work on several different brands, or over time, if they want to move from one brand to another. And with that, I think the job becomes more fun and more interesting. So you're not flexing your IQ, but also for me, for example, working on all those 5 brands, I'm flexing my EQ because brand ethos and culture is different. And every brand is a different stage of its development, has its benefits, and has its opportunity and growth areas. So that helps us keep people engaged when the nature of the job changes a little bit. But the other part of the whole equation is ability to grow from one function and one group to another, which I'm a big proponent of. And I'll give you a couple examples, right? For our beauty brands like Amazing Lash, Dry Bar, Radiant Waxing, we have trainers who are phenomenal at the technical component. And they teach people literally how you put the lashes on, how you create the signature dry brow look. And they are most of the time certified cosmetologists and estheticians. So they typically never really engage into the business side of things until they come to WellBiz, when they start working together with our new store opening team. Because for me, it's really important to not leave the franchisee alone and not to tell them, well, good luck, you got it, congrats on the opening. We actually do send 2 people for the entire week to be there 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. to help the franchisee get a good handle of what's going on. Because man, it can be pretty crazy. And like when I open locations, probably the most stressful times of my life. Exactly. So with that, our technical trainers get to understand the business, right? And we have specific examples where somebody from my technical team moved into new shop opening team as an expansion of a skill set and as a promotion, and got to deal with the business side, KPIs, ops, and metrics. And then, as I mentioned just before, right, new store opening team travels for a week long, 3 to 4 weeks out of the month. And logically, not too many people can survive in this role for more than a couple years because it gets pretty tiring, right? And then in the end, once they want to move forward, they can move to core operations team, which supports more of mature locations. And that creates the career progression and path, not just vertically within your team, but also in between different teams. So you expand your reach, expand your network, and expand your skill sets. And we saw it working really well because every progression like this feels like a new role, a new type of organization, especially if you add a different brand into it, that becomes more exciting for anybody.
I wanna comment there. This is incredible, because when you look why people look for the job, everybody looks for income. They need to pay the bills. Everybody has a mortgage and car payment and so on. But number one reason why people quit the job is I hit the ceiling. There's no more opportunity to grow. Second one is manager culture, disagreements, and so on. But people have to feel the progress. I feel stagnating. I'm stuck, right? The moment you're stuck, it becomes boring. More boring, you become disengaged, and then complaints start going on. Growth equals happiness. It's always like that. And now the fact that you have that in a culture and you have so many growth opportunities, it's like you can go vertical, you can go horizontal, you can switch the bridge and go to another brand. You can do 2 things in the same time. It really, you are giving ability to take the path of career growth. That's incredible. And I believe that's why attracting right people as well, and as well as retention. And it's 2 in 1.
Yeah. Retention is super
but
important.
Why? I got to ask you this. Listen, just question came to my mind. Why would you choose to give somebody career progression versus hiring somebody in the next role? Because a lot of people will say, listen, it's much easier to hire executive for that role than to build up executives. Because there's 2 approaches, improving people or just leaving them there and just hiring in the top.
So I think the healthy balance is needed. I'm a big proponent of promoting people from within because they know the organization, they know the culture, they know the people and the inner workings and the history. Plus, we're almost certain that they are a good fit because we know the human that's being promoted to a different role. When we bring somebody new, despite the rigorous recruiting process, you know it yourself, everybody sometimes makes hiring mistakes, and it doesn't mean that we hired the wrong person or the person that's not skilled. It's more like the fit wasn't there, right? Or they expected something, we expected something, and somewhere something was lost in translation. So the safe path for us is to promote our own folks, give them opportunities, keep them happy. At the same time, once in a while, when it's a new role or nobody in the company is ready for that specific step, we would bring somebody new. And I love it for the reason that, when somebody new comes, they have a really fresh set of eyes, and they can poke holes in my own logic, tell us this is how we did it before, this is also what I saw, because in this day-to-day, you tend to be kind of caught up and pushing towards better outcomes, but they help you take a step back and reassess if you're ultimately doing the right thing, or if the right thing you were doing before is still relevant for the current environment.
Yeah, I love that. And I would love to switch a little bit topic now, talking about growth of the franchise. So, so many franchises and fitness franchises rely on this traditional route of advertising, the trade shows, magazines, and so on. But you guys taking a little bit different approach. How do you ensure that, you're attracting the right kind of franchisees? Those who are genuinely passionate about fitness and wellness, not just looking for the money and investment opportunity.
Totally. I think depending on the brand, you can be very successful with investor-like multi-unit, multi-brand franchisees, right? And those are the folks you typically find at big trade shows and conferences. And, it's honestly very fun to roll out the big banner with your brands to tell everybody about it. So there is some excitement around it. And we did have some deals that come through for most of our beauty and wellness brands from those situations. But when it goes to Fitness Together specifically, giving this unique component where we learned that most successful operators are in the business almost on a daily basis, and they love it and they enjoy it. And that's how they create the fantastic teams and the connection with the clients. So we learned that this engaged component typically comes from somebody who knows the space really well. So most of the time it's the personal trainer, it's somebody who worked in fitness before, or somebody who got certified to change their career and be a little bit more of this entrepreneurial spirit versus a PT hired by one of the big box gyms or gym chains. So when we were looking into it, we started realizing best franchisees who are crushing it came from referrals of existing franchisees, but also importantly, kind of logically and naturally, we had, a couple franchisees retiring, and they said, how about my manager takes over the business, which was a very smooth transition. And then we realized that actually our pool of potential franchisees is our existing pool of personal trainers and managers that work within our franchisee locations, because they know the business, they know the clientele, they definitely know what they're getting themselves into. And with a little bit of business coaching, education, they're ready to step up. So we created this employee to entrepreneur program where if you work for Fitness Together as a trainer or as a manager, you have the preferential right to either buy, acquire existing location or to go build a new location. And we as a franchisor, we will have a set of concessions and support tools to make this venture, way more financially attractive to you and to help you get started earlier and easier on that entrepreneurial journey. And at the same time, because we are really big at FT on owner connection and connectivity between franchisees, you can have a mentor who is an existing franchisee who will kind of help you give a little bit, of a peer advice. Because during my personal days when I was running locations, I learned a ton from people like me, from support center, from business coaches, but I think I learned even more from my fellow franchisees because there are life hacks, there are emergencies that are happening at 6 a.m. on a Saturday when the support center is closed and you do pick up the phone and call a peer. So that inspired this employee to entrepreneur program. And we have several locations and several new owner groups from former trainers and managers who went through this. And we saw fantastic success at Fitness Together.
Wow, you're just saying something that everybody experienced, but not people they don't articulate it like that. That network effect. I invest in my coaching, my training, tremendous amount of resources. Sometimes embarrassed to say how much publicly, right? And I'm consistently learning. And every time there's resource from coaches, there's trainers, there's video library, there is access to one-on-one coaching. But what's equal value or even more is this community of like-minded people.
Yeah.
In my world, when I'm building a software and so on, that conversation that happened in the kitchen, where people share just a little tip, can change the direction of the company drastically. 100%. And that's why we have to encourage people to communicate, not fight between each other, not compete, but cooperate. Share the problem. I see so many franchise groups are locked. Like you can read information, but there's absolutely no contribution. And if there is, it's a filter heavily, so you can't even ask if I don't approve it. By the way, franchisees will create their own WhatsApp groups if you don't allow them. if you're not
absolutely. The famous GroupMe's, WhatsApp groups, that keeps going and keeps happening.
Exactly. But this is where the real thing happens. And people talk about vendors, about problems, about employees, about challenges, about leadership as well. They will collaborate. And it's better if you enforce that, because at least you have control and you can make that as a part of it, part of your culture.
Yeah,
I love it.
exactly. It's very important for us. And also, at some point, you kind of want to understand what the vibe is, because if they do not tell you what's literally on their minds, it's hard for me as a franchisor to figure out what's the new innovation we're bringing, what's the most important training program, what are the challenges. And we obviously talk to franchise advisory councils to get those insights. But also, what we created now is what we call owner collaboration calls. Owners submit their topics of like top 3, they vote on them, and then somebody from my team is purely there to facilitate the call. But the call is very open and transparent for the owners to talk to each other. Because, in franchising world, there are some things as a franchisor I cannot even advise them on, like, how to pay the employees because it's joint employment situation. But owners can give each other advice and tips and tricks, and we found it working really, really well.
That's right. And somehow they do your job. They keep coaching each other. They keep helping each other, right? And if you have inspiration for that, I just listened a couple of days ago. I had a guy on the podcast from Wisconsin Athletic Club. They even have something called Wack Bucks. It's funny. Because like every time you do something good for somebody, you get rewarded by the Wack Buck. And that's like you can use that Wack Buck in the businesses for massages and other things. Like,
Oh, that's really fun.
it's
That's a great
to
idea.
catch people when you do something great. And they don't do policing on that. There's a box, there's a process to submit, and everybody can submit anything by rewarding somebody else. You can even reward yourself anonymously if you want to. Nobody's checking. But encourage this culture of knowing what's good, but also sharing, helping, stepping up, and being there for the brand. Because at the end, we are all here for one purpose, to serve our clients, make their lives better. Right? That's ultimate outcome. And everything comes up as a part of the process and reward for that. I love it. Now let's touch base about your brand strategy.
Okay.
So you talk about benefits of having, last time complementary brands like fitness and elements massage. I did a research last year about where the franchise world is going. Like 7 years ago, McDonald's started a franchise world. Like you are going into being your own boss, and then turns into multi-unit franchising. Like Subway says, you cannot get into franchising until you buy 8. But the world today is about multi-brand franchising, and you guys are one of the leading there. So you have fitness and a massage business working together. How does this strategy help you stay resilient? Especially during the slower times or even when the economy shifts.
Yeah, totally.
How this crossover benefits your clients?
Yeah, so what we call WellBiz is a platform to create entrepreneurial opportunities for franchisees. And to your point, you can grow by acquiring more and more locations of that same brand. And that very often at some point requires you to kind of expand the territory, and your locations will be a couple hours away, which means you're looking to hire regional management somewhere locally where the business is. Or another option is to have multiple brands with WellBiz. Like we have a franchisee in one of our markets that has Amazing Lash, Dry Bar, and Radiant Waxing, right? All the beauty brands that work really well together. At the same time, the person knows the basics of the business and can transfer those common components like membership model, obsession with customer experience, cross-sell, upsell along the way, retain them as long as you can. That drives the recurring revenue. Or when it goes to fitness, we know that there is a very good overlap of clients, let's say between Fitness Together and Elements Massage, because guess what? You're very wellness focused, you work out, you train. Everybody understands these days you also need to recover and take care of your body, because the better you recover, the better you train, and kind of that's the cycle that keeps happening. And we do have some folks who have Fitness Together and Elements. Or in some cases, historically, former Fitness Together owners got into Elements and the other way around. And it helps them with addressing client needs better, with keeping this closed network and staying in their location. Because very often when we talk to a FT owner, we typically tell them, hey, you should be the mayor of your town. Everybody knows you, they know who you are. And that's how you get this repeated clientele and generate buzz. So that's super important. And then from the business side of things, Let's say Dry Bar has highest traffic during the holidays, so kind of winter time, all those parties, events, and then episodic things around prom and other boosts. And kind of a little bit slower in the summer because folks typically travel, or you go to the pool, you don't need that gorgeous blowout. While let's say Radiant Waxing, we waxing human bodies, has huge traffic in summer, right? And it helps you kind of maintain the seasonality and even out and balance your revenue to have predictability of that income as a franchisee once you have several complementary brands in your portfolio.
Whoa, you just spoke about biggest financial advice I get from Tony Robbins when I was on his finance conference. And he said, you need to invest in non-correlated assets. Mm-hmm. What's non-correlated asset? Simplest example is sunscreen and umbrella. So when there's sunny, you need sunscreen. When it's raining, you need umbrella. You're literally here. Its seasons are changing. Your fitness might drop, but the need for different businesses is rising. So you are offsetting, balancing, promoting, and really making your business resilient by having multiple streams of income. They are literally complementary, but also not correlated. Mm-hmm. I love that part of it. And the existing franchisees have ability to stay closer to the family and not waste time going out, driving 2-3 hours or hiring regional managers. Yeah. Multi-brand ownership. Go to ChatGPT, check the history of franchise development. You will see that what WellBiz Brand does is literally the current and the future of the franchising. It helps individual locations operate better and helps brand have less owners, less communication overhead, less challenges knowing that this guy knows how to handle it. Totally. I love that. Now, listen, there's a lot of these topics we can talk about. Let's stop a little bit in the future. Let's look ahead. And we want to think about staying relevant in the fitness and wellness industry, especially, as trends keep changing, evolving. How do you keep your franchises and team aligned with the ever-changing demands of the market? I know it's kind of a big question, but world is changing rapidly in front of us, and you as a leader have to kind of be part of it. How do you keep up?
Yeah. Well, funny enough, I literally just got off the phone with the Franchise Advisory Council of Elements Massage when we talked about innovation roadmap and what we want to bring to the brand compared to what's trending in the market and what has, the meat on the bone. Because I think fitness, wellness, and beauty, it's really full of so many exciting things, and so many of those things are fads. They come and go. As a big brand, to the question of scale, you need to move the entire system, and chances are you cannot really move the system very, very quickly. So you need to focus on things that are big enough and that are here to stay, and that will help your franchisees generate substantial revenue. Because we also have to balance the time we have and the effort from the support center side and also from the franchisee side. A human can focus only on that many things at a time, right? And if we're going to throw everything and see what sticks, it's not going to work out. So with that, we typically do pilot most of the new things that we bring to the brands and see with the customer feedback, with the client feedback, what we learn from it. And there are situations when it's the new big hit, like skincare services at Elements Massage. Or sometimes there are things that didn't really work that well. And it took us, a while to stand up in front of the franchisee community and say, listen, we did believe in it. We put so much effort, time, and money into it. We tried. It didn't work. It's time to close the chapter and move to the next thing. So smart innovation while bringing things that are really meaningful to franchisees versus having your attention span, floating from one thing to another is really important because it helps you eventually refine your business model. And I know today, from the back end, right, we talked a lot about people and the importance of human factor, but I'm sure you've spoken to a lot of other fitness brands that everybody talks about how can we make it human agnostic? How many digital screens can we put? How many videos can we record? What technology is there? Which is also great, just a different business model, right? But then there's also a little bit of a smart way to optimize your human resources for things that are not really crucial for the customer. So at our Amazing Lash brand, we are bringing AI virtual receptionist technology, which we already have it ready and waxing, because we learned what really matters is the interaction with your service provider. And if you're coming into the studio, you can check in online on the iPad, and you're not going to be frustrated about it because that's what you probably do at the bank or even at the DMV office these days, right? So things like this would allow us to balance technology and new things that are truly beneficial for our business, whether it's revenue generation or cost cutting for franchisees, is what we're also looking into along with the innovation to stay relevant.
In simple words, keep testing, keep trying. There's so many shiny new objects. You don't want to roll it out. You don't want to use the whole brand as a testing environment, ground. You go slow, you go easy, you try it. Do you have any data about how many projects you adopt versus how many get down to the drain?
Good point. So I would say when we look into something, whether it's new revenue stream or some exciting technology to keep the stylists and the service providers excited and happy and keep them on the jobs, we typically look at the spectrum of 5 to 10 different things. Then we have a quick business case behind it. 3 to 5 make it the top. Then we talk to the franchisees to understand what they're looking for, what's most beneficial for their business. And we would test 2-3 things per brand per year. And then 1 or 2 would become the real innovation when we speak about the whole new business line, the whole new service. And then, of course, there are little things where, it's almost a no-brainer. Yes, we already sell skincare products at Elements. Yeah. Why don't we expand the line with something that's new and trending in the industry? So it's like impact versus effort is always the equation we have in mind, along with the franchisee adoption, which is driven by client demand and the perception of the teams that work for franchisees.
Yeah, there's always a balance. Like, are you going to be first one to adopt technology? Like Pioneer, AI today, it's a very risky move, but it's mandatory. It's obvious. It's going to be here and stay here. By the end of the decade, we'll have 2 kinds of businesses, either those who do utilize AI or those who don't exist.
Yeah, when we looked into AI, I'll give you a very interesting data point. We were always worried, how are we going to lose the human component if the human is not picking up the phone? So some of the locations chose to keep the staffing at the front desk, just like slim it down a little bit. But what we also learned that 36% of our appointments were booked at night, where there would not have been a friendly human component anyway, and we would have just lost the business. Because chances are something comes after work, after dinner, they browse online, they see the ad of Amazing Lash or Dry Bar or whatever, and they book an appointment at 10 p.m. So, and they have a little conversation and chat with the chatbot if they have specific questions, which is the problem is solved, and we would have totally missed on the business had we not had AI component to it.
I love that. And it's like, expectations not there. 2:00 in the morning, I feel stiff, my neck is hurting. Is there availability? I can go on online, but I'm on the website, there's chatbot, text messaging, back and forth, and get it done. Did you know that average response time in the fitness industry, when we analyze thousands of accounts, in a manual inbox, like text message response time is 305 minutes. That's over 6 hours.
Wow.
And then it's like no-brainer. Employee works up to 5:00 in the afternoon. 5:06 gets a message. Nobody responds until tomorrow 9:00.
Correct.
And they were like, "Yeah, please book me up. Hello, anybody?" Boom. Tomorrow it's gone. Right?
Yeah, like help me out. I really want to come in and give you my money, right? And looks like we're missing on that business and a high intent customer.
My wife wants to go to cryo place for cryo skin options, and you can't call the business. Nobody answered it. The booking does not allow any availability. I was like, it's not possible. There's no availability. So I had to call the owners, like, buddy, can you hook me up in a place? Like, yeah, we have availability. They are just not using proper systems. With AI, it's instant. People want outcome. They want to reach results. They want to get into that schedule. Now we want to make sure that technology is serving you, not to be blockage, and test it out. You will see the results. I love what you're saying about AI. Oh my God, that's awesome. So I want to ask you a personal question. Every time I talk to you, you're upbeat. Would you mind sharing, like, what makes you energized? Like, where do you source your energy? You probably have to deal with a lot of things in a brand. But how do you empower yourself? Like, what is your secret of you energizing yourself personally?
Yeah, I think short answer is I love what I do and I do what I love. I'm one of those interesting people who would bypass on great career opportunities with big titles, big paychecks, if it just didn't excite me. And I think the fact that I started my career at McKinsey in management consulting, I got to see so many industries, so many different clients, cultures, and I kind of learned what I do not like and what I do not want to do. And then to your point earlier, right, growing up in the competitive tennis world and then becoming a personal trainer and a fitness coach, this vibe of a fitness studio, of a very client-centric environment is where I feel the most comfortable in and is where I'm most excited in, and also it really drives me, I think, to perform better. So in a personal life, I do work out every single day. It energizes me, because if I don't, like, trust me, I would be bouncing off the walls during this conversation, because that would be all this extra energy I need to let out somehow. So that keeps me very happy, kind of doing what I love, working with passionate individuals and franchisees, as well as folks on my team who really care. I think you gotta care about what you do, because if you make a mistake, you'll fix it if you do really care. If you do not, I can build the skills in people, I cannot build the will in them. And that's how I operate myself, and that's the people that I chose to surround myself with.
Yeah, guys, words that stands out are care, passion, love, and workout. We gotta have a part of it. That's awesome. I appreciate you sharing this. And people are talking now, thinking about, like, oh, how do I learn all these things? I gotta ask you a couple quick questions. As you are knowledgeable, you gain experience through your career, but you also intentionally learn certain things. So what would you advise somebody who wants to really make an impact? Do you have any recommendations for the books that change your life, for the events that you would recommend somebody attending, for podcasts to listen, for mentorship to take on, influencers, coaches, mentorships? Like, what would you recommend somebody who wants to walk your path to say, okay, learn from where I learn from?
Yeah, so I would say the most direct correlation of what comes to mind is fitness specific forums, because we are the top rated gyms podcast, right? So for me, I read newsletter from Athletech News, Fit Insider, listen to their content. And that's kind of how I learned more about the industry very early on. Then the second thing, I'm very extroverted by nature, so I was never shy from, like, picking up a phone and calling somebody, or seeing somebody on this interview stage, or listening to them on podcast and then just DMing them like, hey, can we chat? I would really love to learn how you do this and this and this. And guess what? In this space, luckily enough, most of the people are very, very responsive. And I feel like once you had folks helping you out, like you and I will pick up the phone and help somebody new who wants to learn more, right? That's kind of, you give back, you pay forward, whatever the saying is, right? And I think out of less directly correlated things to the fitness or the wellness world, I really like the topic of customer experience. And one of my favorite books, which I ask most of my employees to read, is called Unreasonable Hospitality. And it is about the very upscale, high-end restaurant business in New York, how it was built, but what they actually talk about, how you go above and beyond to help your customer. And sometimes you go into a nearby business that doesn't generate you revenue, knowing that this is something your client wants and you can bring it for them. So those stories were almost mind-blowing to me. And then you start thinking how we can bring it into our brands, right? And we have Driver Magic, which talks about driver experience. Or we have the red carpet treatment, which talks about amazing lash experience. So you can pick all those nuggets from different industries and see how you can apply to your specific case, whether you're an individual franchisee or entrepreneur, or whether you work in the corporate environment.
And what I love about it, you mentioned something relevant to the industry, like those forums and subscriptions, but also totally non-relevant. Like, you guys are not in restaurant business, but concepts, strategy, ideas you can get from Unreasonably Hospitality. Like, just check the name of the of the book. Like, if it's not, I like when they say in the business, if idea is not labeled as crazy, it's not big enough.
Yeah.
Here, if it doesn't shock you, mind blowing, you use the words, it's not good enough. And that reminds me of Jay Abraham, one of the best marketers in the world. He will connect and implement in a real estate business what works in a digital SaaS business. He will cross-pollinate because everybody in real estate do the same thing, same prospecting, thought for generations. But no, why don't you change a little bit strategy and try what other industries are doing? So you're learning what hospitality in the restaurant world is. One of the most failing business categories, by the way, right? Biggest to run, one of the hardest to run. You can learn how to change the standard in your business. I love that.
Yeah, and then you understand, hey, listen, in fitness, we got it pretty good. It's relatively easy, so it makes you feel good about your life.
That's right. That's right. Oh my God, that's awesome. So, Ankin, we need more people like yourself. I know you're connected, and I'm going to ask you a question. Who would you bring on the podcast here? Who would you recommend? Somebody you know dearly, personally, who is expert, who can come in and speak to the audience? Or maybe somebody you don't know, but you would like me to interview so you can learn from.
Yeah. So let's see. Based on what we talked about, right? So I think the first thing we talked about, franchise growth, picking the right opportunities, finding the right franchise partners. And I would highly recommend you talk to James Franks, who is Senior Vice President of Franchise Development at WellBiz. He's relatively new to the company, but he brought so many different experiences from other industries, how we learn how to cross-pollinate and understand what's applicable or what can be modified a little bit. And also, to tell you the truth, the guy is the king of win-win games and win-win deals, because sometimes you're like, when you negotiate, you give and take, there is something like this. He always comes up with a solution like, everybody is happy. And that's how we increase the size of the pie instead of, slicing the pie in 15 different ways. So I think that could be interesting on the franchise growth and scaling side. And then another thing, we talked about bringing the right people in your organization. Recently for us, the biggest findings for how we build culture internally came from the Pulse survey done by Franchise Business Review for us. Right? And it's an organization that typically surveys franchisees and their satisfaction, and that's the well-known part of their business. But when we did it for our employees, we found out that folks really wanted to be connected to something bigger and more important. And that's when our CEO, Amanda Clark, came up with the concept of writing the 5 big goals for herself. Then everybody derived their big goals at the leadership level, and then we escalated, then we brought it down all the way to every level of the employee. So even if you're like the most junior person who joined last month, you don't even know what you're doing yet, but you need to understand how what you are doing is connected to the bigger purpose, and that would drive satisfaction and connectivity with the company. So that came out from that survey, and the survey is called Pulse by FBR, and the president of FBR is Michelle, and I would love for you to talk to her. She has a depth of knowledge, and she knows all the industries out there.
Wow, awesome. So Michelle from Pulse and James Franks, who is Senior Vice President of Franchise Development.
From our own WellBiz. Yep.
That's incredible. And the last question is, how can people get to know you? Like, what should we say out so people can connect with you, your brand, your opportunities, maybe your employment? Can you share some information how people can get in touch with you or your brand?
Yeah, it's Ankin Laysha on LinkedIn. And sometimes I get a chance to post when I go to our locations and kind of bring somebody behind the scene of what's happening with our franchise brands, as well as, of course, we post all the jobs that we have. And if you are thinking about franchise ownership and opportunities, go to WellBiz Brands website. You can click on franchise opportunities, or you can click on become the owner tab, and you have to submit a little form, and our team will be in touch with you. And I think the fun thing, you can choose what brand you're interested. You can always say, I don't know. You can tell us if you're looking to build 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 units. So the right folks will talk to you and explain to you what the process is like. And honestly, it's a good discovery process, because sometimes we can tell you, hey, maybe you shouldn't. Maybe that's not the right thing for you, which is also great, right? It's discovery and realization.
And I got to tell you, my personal experience with the brand, I work with couple Elements Massages, and I know multiple owners down from Pinecrest to Coral Springs and so on. It was when I first met these people, they were incredible people, really striving, growing, caring, and so on. And after that, I met a lot of other franchisees from other brands. And all what I consistently could hear was complain about the corporate. Something is wrong, right? It's their fault. And then I figured out that's almost everywhere in the business. But that's one thing that I didn't hear. Now I know why, because when I talk to you, I feel that care for the organization, care for the culture. That's why you guys are growing. That's why you're retaining people, because it comes from within. That health, you start with running healthy businesses. And two times 5 is not equal 10. 10 is better than 2 times 5. I mean, that's so key. Like, you would rather have less number of locations doing well, healthy, prosperous, empowering, than just like everybody else, like we started this episode, trying to be a big numbers. And then when you go inside, it's all rotten.
Yeah, which is probably not always the most popular opinion in this space. But yeah, that's what I deeply care about and believe in. And I think your point around franchisees, they embarked on this 10-year journey, right? Sometimes 20 if they extend their franchise agreements. And life happens, people change, circumstances change. Sorry. And any franchise brand will have some franchisees who are just over the brand, lost the passion, not very happy. But we still need to keep trying to find the people who really align with the core values, because that is a prerequisite for long-term success. And yeah, in the meantime, we make mistakes, right? As we always say, when somebody's discovering the brand, they go to the confirmation date. It's like your first date. It's like your quick dating experience. But then, whoop, and we are married for 10 years. And during this process, we're gonna argue, we're gonna fight sometimes, and we can be adults and figure out how to move forward, or we cannot figure it. We'll have to part ways. That's part of life.
That's right. Thank you, Ankin, for today's time. I know you're an incredibly busy person, but your willingness to come here and share your insights, share how brand works, share your culture, and how you think, I think it's incredible and valuable for this community. And on behalf of the community, I really want to express appreciation for everything you said today. And for you guys who are listening to this, you know what you need to do. Click, share, like, subscribe, and send this episode to the people you know, like, and trust, that you know is like, oh my God, either they're thinking about buying franchise or they're struggling, or other executives who can say, oh, this is good. Let me try to implement some of these things. Ankin, you're awesome. Thank you so much for being a guest today.
Thank you, Andre. It was such a pleasure chatting with you.
Pleasure is all ours. If you are a gym owner looking to become a top-rated gym in your area, visit topratedgym.com and grab our free 30-day reputation boost. That's topratedgym.com. I'll add it to the show notes for you. Don't forget to share this with your friends. Stay strong, stay motivated, and keep pushing your gym to the top. Until next time, this is Andre signing off.